You have to note right away that Alan is dressed to kill.
Oh, absolutely.
Thinking
Bill,
Okay,
this is a superintendent site. Can you see all the kid ties? Here's one of them.
Oh,
One of the many.
lovely. I was reading an article in the New York Times yesterday by Peter Coy and his 252 ties that he loved and how nobody wears ties anymore. I can really relate to that.
Oh, that's funny. All right, thank you so much for your patience. I apologize. Let's move through this quickly. I will officially call the meeting to order at 6:44. I will do a roll call vote. Greg Snedeker,
Present.
Alan Genovese is present. Karen O'Neill,
Karen O'Neill here.
Deb Bloomer,
here,
Renee Care,
Here.
and
Here.
Jennifer Coffin,
Here.
and Deborah Potee
Here.
here, Bill Toon,
Yes, here.
and we also have Mary Broderick joining us. Did I miss anyone as you move around?
Lynn.
And Lynn, thank you, Bill. And Lynn Reynolds
Yes, here.
here. Okay. So we've done the roll call. We've got that recorded. We have minutes of March 21st. I appreciate getting those. Well, this gets us pretty much all caught up.
Yeah, and I
And
apologize.
thank
I will say I apologize to Jennifer. I didn't include them. I think I got faked out by your email. I thought maybe you wanted to do one more pass at them, but I think you meant something else, and I apologize.
I was both. I was looking for your feedback, and if you're like super great, send it along. But I can do either.
I thought they
I'm-
were,
March,
I thought they were
they were
great. They're
attached.
almost too detailed. I mean, you could take a step back a little bit when you don't have to have all that detail, but no, they were wonderful. So thank you for doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
we'll
agree.
do it-
I certainly,
I was gonna say, we'll just.
yeah, I certainly entertain a motion to approve the March
Okay.
21st minutes. And thank you for that. So that was moved by Lynn. So Lynn made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it. Bill,
Thank you, Bill. And any discussion? Karen, any discussion?
No,
Okay, thank you. It passed the Karen litmus test. All right, I guess I have to do roll call again. So we're voting on the motion to approve them. Greg,
Yeah. Yes.
Karen,
yes,
Deb,
yes,
Renee,
Yes.
Bill,
yes.
Lynn,
yes,
Jennifer,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
thank you, and Alan Genovese, yes. So they pass unanimously. For information in your packet was Jane Dutch's letter of recognition. It was just so wonderful of her to step up when people weren't there to not just fill that seat, but to really make so many contributions on behalf of the planning board that I didn't want that to not be in the record and go unnoticed. And not only, did she have a strong interest in the financial aspect of it, but it was so refreshing to hear someone connecting the importance of the money that's being appropriated or expended to benefit the kids. And in my conversations with her, she was still really adamant about this is really important for the education of students. And so she was driven truly by both issues. So I hope you had a chance to review it. And that was, I think, both emailed and mailed, US mail to her. Letter to the staff, parent letter. I was able to get that out. Apologize, Deb, you gave me some great feedback. I hadn't had a chance to kind of rework that or put it in. I love all your suggestions, so I'm just going to edit and add that. And then I don't think I saw anything yet from Brooke. Did Brooke share anything with you, Deb?
no, she didn't.
Okay, and so I'll loop back, and after I include yours and send that back out to you again, then at the next meeting, we could share that. I'd like to get that off the ground the next time we have a meeting, but we're in the process of setting things up. So I'd like to do the staff first. And Renee, can I ask you a question here? I had been thinking about how best to approach the Pioneer staff. We had a meeting last year with them, and it was at the Pioneer School. It didn't happen during the school year, so we were disappointed with that. But it did happen as soon as school got out, and we had a few teachers from Pioneer participate, and they made great suggestions. And we had more teachers, not a lot, but we had more that came from Turners Falls or Gilmontague District. And I was thinking that the benefits, Greg did a presentation at the school committee meeting, and Claire came up after, and I think it might have been at the next meeting. She said, I haven't been following this as closely as I probably should have, but I think that there's merit to what he's saying in terms of professional development for what you can do when you have departments that have more people, that it should be, about the students. And we didn't get into anything about, redoing a salary schedule or any of the other aspects to that. But I was thinking that I would like to maybe sit down with the officers of the Pioneer Association and do the same at Gilmontague, but answer some of their questions and have a support or something to organize an event that we would have Pioneer teachers, more of them involved in it, and host it at your school again, and have Turners Falls or Gilmontague go to the school and do a similar thing that Mary did with the students, which was really powerful in talking about, what would be important, what could you envision, how would we blend the talents of the staff, what kind of things would you want to offer for students for programs and services, maybe break down into small groups. I think she had like 8 groups of 5 or 6 kids in a group, but blend the staffs together to come up with those brainstorming ideas so that I'd like to do that first because we have the student input. I could share what the students said with the teachers, do the teachers second, and then when we start putting together forms for parents, we could have that information as here's what the teachers were thinking, here's what students were thinking, we want to share that, now what are you thinking? So could I get maybe some involvement with you, letting the powers that be, the officers, have a conversation about that and see what their ideas may be on how we could have an event that blends the staffs together and share ideas and have more participation. Because I am concerned that although we got some really great information, Renee, it still came from a small group. And having the ideas of a much larger group would just add so much depth to the research that we're doing. So what are your thoughts? I was going to call you and talk to you about it, and I never got a chance to.
So yeah, I have a few thoughts, just again, processing all your comments under, right now, what rises to the top and brings to the front of the mind. If participation and feedback is your goal, then I would think that you'll get the most if you work under, like, I believe, and I could be misspeaking, the last time when you got feedback, you came to a staff meeting of the faculty, and that way you get way more than if, and there, I could certainly bring it to an executive board meeting and as an agenda item, but we're far away from, we're not talking about bargaining now because we don't have a district. So we have a small executive board on PVREA, and you wouldn't get a large audience, and half of our membership on the executive board are elementary teachers. So I would think ideally you would work under the direction of the superintendent, because they direct the workforce, if you want to get the workforce in front of you.
All right, so I
In
think,
terms
I
of
don't
getting
think I was,
feedback,
yeah.
in terms of having a larger audience. And at the big, before you joined us, we were talking about the drain on teachers currently, and the difficulty of just getting the basics done. And so we as a union have been struggling with participation, above and beyond what is needed to to breathe in and breathe out, which is stressful these days. So I'm hearing you say that you would like a large group to provide the most feedback. So I would wonder if going through the superintendent and going to another faculty meeting would glean you the most participation, and have an attentive audience in a way that, just get you what you need in terms of at least them in the room. Now, we can't make them listen, but we can put them in the room if you're working at a faculty meeting. So that's my
So-
initial thought.
Yeah.
So Bill and
So
I,
Deb, I'm going to call on you. Deb, wait 1 second. I'm going to call on you. I just want to make sure I didn't misrepresent what I was trying to get at. I was thinking a think tank conversation with the officers about how best to go about getting the staffs from both schools together to be involved in an exercise similar to the students of, if you were reimagining a school, what are the things that you'd be looking for? We'd be talking to parents as that as well. So we've heard from students, we'd hear from teachers, we'd be talking to parents with that, and we'd put all that information together. So that was meant to be a think tank conversation on how best to do that. And then from that, it would be having teachers go to one of the sites, and I was thinking Pioneer, on an after-school activity where we would blend the two staffs together. And like one of the questions would be, what could you imagine? What are the things that could happen with the talents of both districts? Because the premise that we're operating on is we're having all of the teachers from both schools. So I'm not talking about collective bargaining things, we're talking about imagining what a new school district could offer that we're really both districts are having a hard time doing now. Is that
Yeah,
a
and I
little
guess I
clearer?
just was saying, yeah, I'm just letting you know that participation is at a point where, unless we say that we put this on an agenda for the executive board, I mean, I could certainly broach that and get back to you. We meet monthly, but I don't know how many people you would get. So I'm just
Could I
thinking.
attend? Could
Well,
I
I
actually?
would need to put it on an
Yeah.
agenda and then get back to you. So
Yeah. Okay,
I could.
all right, we can talk some more. Yeah, thank you. Deb?
no, I was going to say what Renee was saying was what Bill and I and Karen did last year, which was to go to a faculty meeting at Pioneer and give a presentation, and Karen would attest that the feedback we got from them was, I believe they called us hostile. I'm not sure the exact wording, but it was not a productive experience. Karen, you can speak to
Yeah.
it. I thought as it went on, it was.
Yeah.
But that was not their impression. So, since there's a new presentation now and new information and so forth, I think it would have to be presented differently than the last one was, so that they didn't just go, oh, this is the same old. We've already heard it. We don't need to hear it again. So that somehow if that's the route you take, that it's just framed totally differently, and it would have to be framed differently by Patricia, who would then put it as part of a faculty meeting. And
you know, however that would go.
But how does that accomplish? Because I don't think either of those are accomplishing what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is get the teachers from both districts to sit down and imagine, like the essential question might be, what are things that you feel could be offered if you were creating if there was a new school district and you were offering programs and services and courses and so forth to kids? What would you like to do in your discipline? What would you like to do, you know, as a staff that could create more learning opportunities for kids? And the only way I think that could happen is if teachers were sitting down in small working groups and then coming up with that. There might be a couple of essential questions and then reporting out from their groups so that all their ideas can be captured and their concerns. So I
Right.
don't know how that would happen in an isolated faculty meeting. It loses the.
Collective bargaining wise, well, you could never tell one faculty you had to go to someone else's school. I mean,
Right.
it's just not going to fly. So
Right.
since Gil Montague was more receptive, even though when they were being paid, but it was at the end of the school year, so they were really wiped out. You might have it put forth by Patricia by saying this is going to be a joint one and just see how many volunteers you get from Gil Montague to go up and hope that they're going to show up in, I don't know, 10 of them. But I also wouldn't want it to look like a failure that if you said to the principal of Pioneer would like to do this meeting, and then only 2 people from Gil Montague show up at the scheduled Pioneer faculty meeting because they volunteered to go up from Gil Montague. That, well, see, they don't care. There's only 2 of them. So I think what Renee is saying is right. The volunteer piece at this point in time.
Maybe it can be done virtually.
So can I ask a quick question? I had my hand. I don't know if you can see my hand or not.
Sorry.
So have the teachers and the superintendents and staff had the opportunity at both schools? Have they had the opportunity in front of them to listen or participate or hear the presentation yet? Everybody has. Okay. So why don't we get a really well-crafted survey that the SUPs send out to the staff, and their participation, I would say, I don't know if they can require it, but it shows their level, like we're asking for feedback and we want to know your thoughts and all of these things, and it can be collected and we can have a link to the presentation for those who want to review it. But if we give a deadline and say that won't require anybody going anywhere, and for the point you said, Deb, if it's like the perception, if not a lot of people are there, would be removed.
They haven't heard the presentation that this planning board had put together. They heard a presentation that was done last year when Mary was sharing some of the findings by the consultants, and then asking, this is at the forums, and asking the community for their ideas. So this presentation has not been heard by the staff, and I wasn't thinking so much as a presentation. I mean, there certainly could be, here's some of the things we found, but the focus would, in my view, would be around how could it benefit kids?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what would we be engaging the kids on. I would like to ask Mary to weigh in too. Let's go to Karen and then go to Mary and hear some of your thoughts about how we might get this information, because the survey, that is possible, but I just have reservations about when we give a survey and people didn't have enough information. We had them asking their kids and others. So I'm not sure yet.
Okay. It just seems like it'd be the best way to get anonymous, honest feedback, right? And so if we can have a link to the information that we would share at this perceived meeting, with 3 questions. What do you know, whatever, 3 or 4 questions, open-ended about let's see the benefits of it. Just a way to not go outside schedule.
Karen?
Okay, well, I think it's a very good idea to have the 2 groups of teachers meet each other. I think the essential thing is time. It's going to be uncompensated time. In the case of the students, I mean, they went during their regular school day. So that was not an issue for them. They did not have to give up practice for a sport or prep homework time. And that's very precious for the teachers right now. In fact, all their faculty meetings are, contractual. How many are there going to be? And I really think it's a great idea to have a mixing of the 2 faculties, but I'm not sure how you do that on a, ad hoc basis. How are you going to get that done?
If we can figure out how to do it in a late afternoon or early evening or something and feed them and that would be the brainstorming we do with the teachers about how could we make this more exciting for you. I'll go to you, Deb, in a second. Can I ask Mary? Mary, did you have some thoughts on this?
Yeah, I actually tend to agree with Karen right now. I do think a survey is an idea, but I'm not I think at this point it needs to be a collective learning experience, learning together and hearing one another's thinking about it. And I don't think that happens through a survey. Maybe a survey could come a little bit later, but I do think that meeting with the separate faculties at this point and then seeing if there's an interest in them getting together collectively when school ends with some good food. Might be a way to do it. And it would be great to get them together for a cookout or something like that but not, I don't think this is the time to ask them. I'm not sure there's ever a good time to ask them to take their time to go to another school, but I do think they have an interest in it.
I do.
So finding a fun way to do it when they're feeling the pressure lifted from the academics might be an option.
Thank you. Deb?
Getting to the individual schools for those conversations is certainly a possibility, a way to do it.
Deb, you're on mute. I know your lips are moving.
Neither of the staffs have seen the new presentation that you've had. So possibly starting there and seeing if at their individual faculty meetings, the new presentation could be given. And then at that point, kind of solicit, when would be a good time, do you think? I kind of disagree with Mary because, to be honest with you, at the end of the school year is the worst time, because we did that last year and they were getting paid and we saw the participation was like. So somewhere in there, a Memorial Day, whatever the faculty meeting around there is, or just, like I said, I think last year we hoped it went through, but to start with, one of the things we talked about for the parent letter was have them see the presentation and then maybe give them a survey for the people who were there.
I'm going to cut you guys off right now because we're going to have to sign back on.